I think I might have a thing for animals doing ridiculous things. Breadwinners, Sanjay and Craig, rocket monkeys. Oh, you didn't think I went that far, did you? I think I might also have a thing for shows about space. The Three Amigonauts, Packages from Planet X, Spaceman Robotron, whenever that comes out, the astronauts. So when animals go to space, again, I'm pretty sure I'm all ears. It's all international hands on deck as I review Space Chickens in Space. But did the birds have a successful mission? Houston? More than you could ever know. Space Chickens in Space is a rare bird as a co-production spanning 3 continents and seemingly every corner on Earth. It's an Australian, Mexican, British, Irish animated television series produced for the 9 Network in Australia and Disney's Europe, Middle East and Africa division. The show premiered on 9 Go on September 30th, 2018 and on the international feeds of Disney XD on November 19th that year in what will likely be their last international animated production, given the slow death of Disney XD as a whole. More recently, the show's launched on Russian channel 2x2. Think if Warner Media decided to trash the Cartoon Network brand and make it all Adult Swim but not change the schedule much, in January 2020. The show follows 3 chickens mistakenly enrolled in an intergalactic diplomacy school and thus sent to attend in outer space. Hence the title! Hijinks ensue as the trio attempt to survive everything that the universe can throw at them. In reading the premise, I couldn't help but make vague comparisons to The Three Amigonauts, a Canadian cartoon that came out the year before this, even though after a trio of youngsters in space, hijinks ensue, the similarities likely end there. That is a good show though, I should talk about it sometime. If the story can be explained as hijinks ensue in a situation, that tends to mean the strength of the characters is particularly important, as there won't be a complex story for them to fall back on. However, I have few doubts in the powers of foreign nations to create compelling content, and certainly each country involved in this has their own strengths. Let's see if everyone bands together to make these chickens really fly. The show is a fast-paced, colorful, expressive, and highly stylized series, and its nature as a romp is prevalent and undeniable. In contrast to some shows which seem to not have enough stuffing to pad out 11 minutes, this show seems to present the inverse. An adventure that could arguably be stretched out to 22 minutes on a different kind of show is presented in the usual 11 here. That isn't a bad thing, mind you. Arguably, getting that kind of pacing right is its own achievement. Long and plodding, this show is not, which may lead some to argue that this leads to them sometimes rushing through things, or that the pace is telling of some other glaring deficiency. I don't necessarily feel that's the case here though. While it definitely tugs you along at speed, the key difference in execution here is that it does so without just throwing things at you and expecting you to piece it together. Everything is explained, everything has context, everything is coherent, even at this pace. The show can handle high comedy and real tenseness in equal strides, and it's easy to pick up on who everyone is supposed to be in relation to the chickens and their world. The beginning of the show's first episode, trolling Thrognak, serves as a relatively good introduction to most of the character dynamics without being an introductory episode outright. I particularly appreciate the show letting the chickens be chickens at times, shifting to clucks when they're agitated and dropping an egg right quick when they're scared.
Prepare yourselves for complete and utter obliteration!
In addition to adding to the fast and loose wackiness of the show, it makes the chickens themselves more expressive. They could have easily just gone a let's just make these chickens basically anthropomorphic route, but the fact that they didn't, and put in the extra effort to remind you that these are space chickens in space, is appreciated. Chuck is a wannabe fearless leader, but still very clearly has at least one fear, TM. Finley is the resident smart guy, confident in his work, but not necessarily in himself. And Starly is a lover, not a fighter, regardless of whether her super strength says otherwise. Despite their somewhat one-note, tropey beginnings, the chickens quickly gain nuance through full stories worth of arguable exposition within the first few episodes, which quickly invests you more into this world and makes you more eager to continue watching. One thing I noticed about how Space Chickens executes is, as someone expected, that the chickens are outwardly perceived to be incompetent.
Why is Clark not surprised? You have failed again!
We only failed this time because Chuck and Starly wouldn't pull their weight.
cadet takes responsibility! Don't be such a chicken, cadet.
But it's not like rocket monkeys, which seemed in ways to revel in that occupational incompetency on its way to differing comic aims. These chickens are clearly trying, and while they can be a bit bumbling, especially the boys, they do ultimately mean well. Artistically, the show is colorful and vibrant without being garish. Just look at that explosive title card. The designs on the show look very unique without necessarily ruffling many feathers with an outlandish look. Pun very much intended. The line work feels like an experienced artist going nuts with a Sharpie on good quality paper, but not overstressing the forms much. The smooth, fluid lines feel speedily scrawled, which fits well with the accelerated story pacing. They really know where this show is going, stylistically. The added thought into the details of how this show looks and feels helps the entire cartoon feel very cohesive on a level that I haven't seen in a while.
She also gave the best hugs ever.
Oh, we'll give you a hug. Right, Finley?
But I always break your bones when I squeeze too hard.
Not in these bad boys!
You guys are the best!
Space Chickens in Space is good with world building and great with comedic timing, but where it excels is at nuance. Every character on this show is multidimensional in some way, and those qualities become quickly apparent. No, that's not just a generic peer antagonist, she also really wants to get out into the field. Yes, he's an eager nerd, but he also has his own quandaries. Sure, he wants to project an image, but he's neither aloof nor infallible. This show really opens a lot of doors early on that can be played with and expanded upon throughout the series, and seeing that on an episodic comedy somehow feels refreshing. Just get past the randomly rhythmic theme song, which sounds like it belongs on an entirely different show.
Space chickens in space, space chickens in space. What are they doing? They're saving the universe.
The theme song and credits music feel like the only things that clash in what is otherwise a really solidly packaged product, and they seem like they'd fit better on a show that isn't so well executed. Like a pickle and peanut if it had raised itself to mediocre or something. Space Chickens in Space may wear its basic premise on its sleeve, or its title, but when you actually dive into it, it is brimming with nuanced exposition that makes it among the best things episodic storytelling has had to offer recently. Not only does it achieve some amazing technical and executional feats, but it's also just a downright fun show. Unreservedly adventurous and funny in spades, it takes this caliber of international cartoons to surprising new heights without resorting to high art lore or bombshell visuals. Like the chickens themselves in a way, Space Chickens in Space is a cartoon that pulls through in spectacular fashion when no one was expecting them to do it. It is a testament to international content and the bars that can be set when the work is put in to create a meticulously well-developed and fleshed out product. Where's America with this kind of effort? Space Chickens in Space is really being out here showing up like half of our output. And far more than that if you're a certain channel. It's a shame that we're not going to see something like this again, as Disney EMEA, which partly produced this show, has been letting the Disney XD brand deteriorate and disintegrate, much as Disney's domestic arm has done with the US channel, and with that slow demise also goes much of the possibility that Disney will make a new cartoon to fulfill European local programming requirements, as they can easily fill that responsibility for Disney Channel by writing the occasional new telenovela and keeping the rights to Miraculous Ladybug, and Disney Junior, well, I don't know what they'd do for that exactly. Preschool isn't really my department. But in a way, if they were going to ditch their cartoon arm, this is a pretty good one to go out on. An intercontinental achievement that showcases some of the best that Foreign Kids Fare has to offer, feels like a solid culmination of a massive effort that's brought together an array of diverse talents to create beautiful, inspiring, amazing examples of artistry, making a seemingly crazy concept a reality. Much like sending chickens to space when you think about it. It's been a while since I've last talked about a foreign cartoon, but the last one I reviewed was pretty good too, even if it did take a minute to warm up. You can watch that up here or down in the description. For more journeys like this through the world of television every week, make sure you hit subscribe. I'm Benzie Johnson Jr., I'm enthusiastic about television, and I'll see you next time.